Again, listen, we're back again. As you said, last time I was on here was when the Liverpool game.
Yeah.
And the same lineup, the same midfield. And you know what? I went into that game with confidence. I went into that game thinking, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah.
Before I saw the lineup, of course. Same thing, no creativity. I said, why would this guy do this? Why would Arteta do this again? And one thing I've noticed about Arteta is he loves to do things in threes. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but me personally, I feel like Arteta tries things 3 times. If it doesn't work, then he decides to change it. He never changes it on the second occasion if it doesn't work the first time. He's hell-bent on doing things his way, or just hell-bent on, I don't know, annoying the fans, riling them up, because he knows no one wants Moreno and CAM. He knows he has 2 center attacking mids, or 3 that could possibly play in Moreno's possession, or where he put Moreno, should I say. And then we go into attack and we look at Trossard up front. I'm thinking, why would you reward Trossard? What has Trossard done? Yeah, he scored a goal the last game. But are we being for real? Trossard is who we're starting in this game.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Gyökeres, pass him the ball. Look, tell the players. Look, there was an interview with the United players a few years back. I remember I watched it. And one of the United players was like, Ferguson, when United took Van Persie from Arsenal and he went to Manchester United. And the United players were like, Ferguson told him to pass Van Persie the ball. Don't do anything else. Pass Van Persie the ball.
Yeah.
Bro, pass Gyökeres the ball. Come on. We have 97 goals last year. Which, we're seeing, like you said, you stated already, even D said, countless times he's trying to make that run. Countless times. And exactly in your dialogue at the start, you said, the 70th minute. It was the 73rd minute. I remember. Just like you, literally. And it's funny because when you said that, I was like, oh my God, I wasn't the only one who noticed.
Yeah, no, it stuck in my head. That pass was played through, and I said to Phil from PA, I said, that's the first time we've played a pass to him in behind all game. Right.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Gyökeres is not that. Gyökeres is not for me the level of Van Persie. He's not the level of. He's not for me a elite level striker. And I don't think there was an elite level striker on the market, but we absolutely had to get in a striker. And he is the top scorer over the last 2 seasons in Europe's higher leagues, not obviously the top 5, but certainly the higher leagues in the Portuguese league is. But and I do think that there are mitigating circumstances around Gyökeres' start of the season being the schedule that we've had and the types of games that we're playing. And I don't think it's any surprise that he's got 3 goals in 2 games against the 2 sides further down the table in the Premier League in our home matches. And that our struggles with him have come against United away, Liverpool away, and City at home. So I thought against Athletic Club he was good. And we did play a few good balls in behind for him. He could have actually got 1 or 2 goals in those games. But the concerns that I did have, Bay, about Gyökeres when we signed him are materializing in front of me. Like, we are seeing the shortcomings in his game realized in front of us, which are first touch, which are a style which leans on needing to play the ball in behind or getting those cutbacks into those tight spaces where he can basically have a one-touch shot at goal. Those moments we haven't created loads of at all, not just this season or last season, but at all in the last 5 seasons. That's not how we play. So can you see Arsenal adapting to him? Because that's what Arsenal needs. And I do think if Kai Havertz was available, we wouldn't be having as many issues as we're having, because he would stylistically be fitter and better for these types of games. But we don't have him, so we need to respond and we need to adapt to Gyökeres better and quicker. But can you see that happening?
Right. Can I see that happening? I've always been a believe the manager sort of guy. I believe in the manager. It depends on, your track record, of course. It took me a while for me to say Wenger out. Now, with Arteta, I was okay with the progress he's made us up until now. Now, this season, for me, it's all guns blazing. We have to win a trophy. Premier League and all the Champions League, either one, right?
Yeah.
Do I think we're going to change style? No, I don't. No. I actually don't. Nothing has shown me this season. I mean, I know it's only 5 games, but nothing has shown me this season that Arteta is willing to change style. And something that you said if Havertz was fit, you believe Havertz would have probably started one of those games.
Yeah, probably all of them.
I totally agree. I absolutely agree. Because Arteta refuses to change. It's his way or the highway. Same thing with Eze. Some people were saying, they think Eze was dropped because I don't know if you saw the clip of Arteta shouting at Eze to go onto the wing.
Yeah, I think maybe people have read a little bit too much into that.
Maybe. Yeah. But at the same time, it shows it. He also went into the press conference to complain about Eze the first game. Remember that?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So there are little things that you just have to put together. It's like, bro, did he really want Eze? And
I think he did. Yeah, I don't think anyone signs for Arsenal unless he wants them. It just doesn't happen.
No. Obviously, yeah, he has to give the go ahead. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be for real. He's not going to use him if he doesn't. He's not going to use the player if he didn't want the player. People like Lokonga, people like Vieira, there are loads of examples of players that we have signed. The guy's never going to use. Now, Eze is a different ball game. He's one of the best attackers in the Premier League, as far as I'm concerned, especially for Crystal Palace and at that level, and as a 10. Now, we signed him with the amount of money that we spent this summer, so he has to use these players. Now, he also came out in before the game in the press conference talking about squad depth, and this is the exact reason as to why he chose to start certain players like Moreno and Trossard. Yeah. Okay, I understand squad depth, which is what we've been lacking for the last 5 years. Bro, but do you think this is the time to now use the squad depth that haven't really? It's like he loves to go backwards. It doesn't make any sense to me. I find it hard to try and understand his mindset.
I see where I spent the last however long trying to understand kind of where Arteta does, to the point where I do think I understand like where he is in these types of games. Because for me, in these types of games, he's petrified of losing them. I think he's absolutely petrified of losing these games. And I think he's looked at previous seasons. You think about when we were 2 points behind Man City when we lost the title. And he's looking at kind of how can I get those marginal gains to be able to turn over those 2 points. And last season's a bit of an anomaly because of all the injuries that we had, but there were still signs in that season where we wouldn't take the initiative, where we'd be too conservative, where we wouldn't go for it. And this season when he's bad, when you've been backed with 300 million quid's worth of players, there isn't an excuse to not go for it in big games and not go to Anfield and not go into this game with players like Eze available to you, or players like Winery, who's still very talented as well, we know can be a threat, scored in this specific fixture last season, and not use them more proficiently and more proactively. And that is where I think Arteta's sword is, where he could fall, is that if Arteta is to go one day from Arsenal without being successful, and by that I mean not having won them one of the major trophies of the big two. There's more major trophies than just those two, but particularly those two. If Arteta doesn't win either of those trophies, it won't be because he's not a good manager, or he's not a good coach, or he can't improve players, or he's not tactically proficient. The reason why Arteta won't win any trophies, and at the end of his time with it, if that scenario was to come to pass, will be because he wasn't brave enough and he wasn't risk-averse enough. Sorry, not risky. He wasn't risky enough in those games. He was too risk-averse in the moment where it really mattered. If he fails, it will be because of that, not because of anything else for me.
Now, I totally agree with that. Now, I think defense wins championships. They say that a lot in NBA and American sport, all of that stuff. Defense wins championships, right? And I agree with that. We need a strong defense to move forward. So, no problem with Arteta making our defense one of the best defensive forces in Europe for the last 3 seasons, right? No issue. But now it's time to evolve, right? It's now time to take it to a next level. And it's time to show the fans that, yes, I want to win. I want to field an attacking team. Yeah. If it looks like things are going bad, all right, maybe we can change it and put on a defensive midfielder like Moreno or centre midfielder, whatever position you want to label him as. So it's the, like I said last time, it's the optics, and it's the willingness to try and win the game. He doesn't try to win the game. He prefers to not lose the game. which it's not the way to win a trophy. Like, bro, like, he's been making the same mistakes for the last 3 seasons. Okay, yeah, you stated the reasons why we haven't won is because we're not winning against the lower table teams.
Yeah.
And, you know, we didn't really lose against any of the top 6 over the last few years.
Yeah.
Now, this season, the lower leagues, we've smashed them. In lower teams, we've smashed them.
Annihilated
the top teams, we can't seem to find an attacking, I don't know, spark.
Yeah.
like what's going on?
Well, you look at the way that Liverpool, and not just under Arne Slot, but under Jurgen Klopp as well, it's just a Liverpool way of the style that they play. They just gun for teams. Like that Burnley game where Burnley went down to 10 men. Like there was only one team that was going to win that game, you know. Yep. And even the Newcastle game, where Newcastle, obviously, I think personally, were very tactically naive when they went down to 10. They did a lot of good work to get back to 2-2. But as soon as they got that second goal, they should have hunkered down with 10 men, absorb the pressure, steal the point off Liverpool. But they didn't. They tried to go and win it against the champions with 10 men, which was so stupid, and it ended up costing them. But from an Arsenal point of view, they go into those games knowing, like the Nottingham Forest, the Leeds of this world, Arteta knows if he dominates those teams in terms of possession and chance creation, he's going to win those matches. He knows that. But in his mind, that translates to the games against Liverpool and against City. And he believes that if he can dominate the game for enough time in those fixtures, that's his best chance of getting a positive result from those games. And that approach to those games has worked in the past because we've won games. You know, I think about the times we've battered Chelsea or even battered Manchester City, of course, last season as well.
But we weren't defensive. We never fielded a defensive team.
We didn't field a defensive team. But what I think is that he also has, which we haven't really touched upon, is that there are kind of linchpins in his squad that if he doesn't have, he struggles with. So if he doesn't have Ødegaard as a really good point, if he lacks Ødegaard, it's almost like he's not sure what to do, but honestly, other than to revert to that the kind of more consolidated midfield that he's got.
Indeed.
And he's not willing to kind of throw Eze in or throw Wineri in those big games when he should do. He should throw them into those games. But for some reason, there's kind of this mental block that he just can't quite do it.
Yeah.
And that could cost him. Last point made before we move on.
No worries. I do think it will cost him in the future. I don't know if we win a trophy this season. The way we started it this year, or started this season, losing, I don't know, we dropped 4 points already, 5 points.
Against Liverpool and City,
So 4 points, but then I think Liverpool are 5 points above us, right?
Yes, we've dropped 5 points against Liverpool and City.
Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, terrible. This is terrible. This doesn't show. This doesn't show the belief that we're actually going to like. This is where we need to be showing. This is where we need to be making a statement. This is the season where we need to be making a statement, especially with the signings we've made. So, not making a statement in your first 5 games doesn't necessarily instill confidence in the fans. Or in me, anyways, in regards to the way we've been performing over the previous seasons. Now, does that mean we sign more players in January who are missing? God knows.
It's not about players anymore. It's not about players. Like it can't be about players. We can't spend 300 million on 8 players that all add quality to this squad and then be like, we need to sign X player. He's got a clinical finisher. He's got 2 really good right wingers that create problems for any team they face. He's got Ødegaard, and if he's not got Ødegaard, he's got, for me, a world-class player in Eze, who at the moment, of course, is still bedding in and
more like Moreno.
He's got Moreno, who I rate as a player and think could be a really positive impact, and has shown that. He's shown that this guy playing in playing bloody centre forward can score against Real Madrid of all teams. This guy is not a bad player. I will not have people slandering Moreno the player. I'm happy to have conversations about how you misuse him in the midfield alongside other defensive midfield players, but he isn't a bad player, and he is a decent player and adds value to this squad. He's got Declan Rice in his midfield. He's got, for me, behind Rodri, the best 6 in the league now in Martin Zubimendi. He's got the best defensive unit in the world. And he's got, for me, options on the left still that are threatening. Yes, I think we'd like to have seen maybe a Rodrigo, etc., come in, whatever. But Martinelli's showing, this season the goals that he can score. We've seen Trossard obviously come off in the Athletic Cup game and score. We know Eze can also potentially play that. We know Madueke potentially can play there as well. And he's still got players like Saka to now come back, and Havertz potentially to come back, and Jesus one day to come back. And he's got players like Nkapie now that he needs to use as well, who's more of a traditional left-sided fullback when he plays in that position, and can also play as a left centre-half as well. Yep. He's got resources back.
You're right. I agree.
We've got to see change.
I believe we have the resources as well, and that's what frustrates me. It's the belief that kills you. I don't think it's the fact that I'm sitting here with no belief, thinking we can't do anything.
Yeah,
I fully believe we can do something this season, or I believed we can do something this season. Yeah. But the way it's going, first 5 games, I'm not going to lie to you. Out of the first 8 games, I decide, when the season starts, I usually decide from the first 8 games what it looks like.
Yeah.
First 5 games, we've lost and drawn already. That's not ideal for a championship winning team.
Yeah.
It should be at minimum 1 draw in 8 games.
Yeah. Which might happen. Yeah, ironically, that might happen, with Arsenal, because it might be that we only draw that game against City, we only lose that game against Liverpool, and then the other 6 games, we win all of them. We are on 18 points.
But remember, we still have bogey teams like Newcastle. People forget about Newcastle slapping us last season, losing to Aston Villa.
For me, they're the games, though, babe. They're the games which win or lose Arsenal the title. Liverpool came to Arsenal last season. Liverpool won the league, didn't beat Arsenal in either of the 2 times they faced us. Manchester City won the league the season before, lost to Arsenal at the Emirates, and drew against Arsenal at the Etihad. Both of the last 2 teams that have played Arsenal in the last 2 years, have not beaten them when they won the league. For me, those games are mini contests in the league between those 2 sides. But ultimately, whoever wins the league, it's down to how they performed against all the other 17 teams outside of City and Liverpool. That's how you win the league. It's how you perform against all those others. And that's why it's obviously very early in the season to be having bigger, broader conversations about the manager's future. But what we can have, and what we are doing, Bay, is having a conversation about whether we feel that we're seeing enough that shows us that with the resources available to him, that he's going to do enough. Now, again, it's very difficult to do in these first 5 games because we have such a small sample size. But what we know from this point is that against these bigger teams, he is being too conservative for me to take advantage of potentially getting the extra points he could have got. Equally, we are battering the teams that we should beat in the Forest and the Leeds of this world. The United game's a little bit of an anomaly because it's the first game of the season away at Old Trafford. It's a very difficult game to kind of even look into with the new signings and all that. But we won that game, and that was really important to do that, which was a bit of a 3-point bonus and a 2-point net gain on the previous season. So Newcastle's going to be very interesting because Newcastle was the first time, I think, this season, Bay, we're playing against a team where we have a real measure of the difference from us last season compared to this season. So that's a real litmus test, I think, for this team.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that, Tom. Thank you very much, man.
Bay, thank you. Always a pleasure, my friend.